Hey guys, it is Maria with Approach the Nerd, and welcome to Arrowverse Tuesday. Heads up, there's a lot of traffic going on outside my window. I apologize because I picked this time because normally nobody drives by my window, and tonight they decided to just make a fool of me and do it anyway because people are amazing. But did anybody feel that between last night's Black Lightning and up until Superman and Lois tonight, that instead of it being called Arrowverse, it should be called Dysfunctional Verse? Because man, everybody's stuff is dysfunctional right now. All of them. There's so much dysfunction, in their lives as family members and teammates, that the other stuff like that they're dealing with, like the Mirrorverse and Ava for the Flash, and what's going on with Tobias Well, and all of Black Lightning's problems, and then of course the Morgan Edge situation, and eventually Captain Luther. All of this stuff seems to be on the back burner to the fact that everybody needs therapy. Just throwing it out there. So let's start with everybody's favorite Black Lightning. All right, guys. So in the last episode, Jen was in the ionosphere and got overloaded, and her particles split into a million pieces. And so everyone pretty much thinks that she's dead. Now, I'm going to say, I've been saying this for a while. I am very unhappy with Lynn's character assassination on Black Lightning, because they have made Lynn become the biggest biatch and most unlikable character, I think, in Black Lightning. I actually feel like she is more of a nemesis right now than Tobias in terms of Jefferson, because she cuts, and when she says stuff, she cuts deep. And don't get me wrong, Jefferson says some stuff to her that are, a little off the cuff too, always calling on her being an addict. But my Lord, this married couple is toxic right now. They are toxic to each other. Oh gosh. And I love Lynn. I am so angry that she is being literally character assassinated on Black Lightning. And it's the last season. I mean, come on. And the reason I'm stressing this is, so while everyone's trying to figure out what to do, of course, Jefferson and Lynn are in their grief, and they say some off the cuff stuff. And Lynn, not only does she blame him, she even says, your friend, Henderson died a year ago. Pretty much get over it. And I'm like, what? And then so this is all your fault because you won't go out as Black Lightning. I'm like, says the woman who in the earlier seasons was mad he was going out as Black Lightning. It's like, Lynn, why? But I will say though, Jefferson's attic line saying that Jen went up there in the ionosphere because she's addicted, and he's like, well, I wonder where she gets that addict, from the addict mentality from. He called her out, but that was not the most PC way to handle that in a marriage. But guys, Lynn's character assassination is bothering me. It's actually transferred over to Anissa. Anissa and Grace are married, but I don't think Anissa, and I said this in my last, when we did our last week's review, Anissa, well, she is pretty much a hybrid between Jefferson and Lynn, meaning that I don't really think she understands what a marriage is all about. And with them as examples right now, and the toxicity that her parents have toward each other, of course she's going to treat her own wife like crap. So I was like, we have Grace calling her, trying to figure out where she is. And this is pretty much not answering the phone. I mean, yeah, that the Pierce family, they all need to be sitting in somebody's therapy office. Not this therapist, though, because this therapist that they're currently seeing, I'm pretty sure is working for Tobias Well. So, yeah. So, Pierces are not doing well. And again, I'm going to stress it again. Lynn's character assassination is not sitting well with me at all. So, basically, they need to get Jen's particles back. So, what's hard for me is, even how they were reacting. Anissa is actually somebody who cries when she shows emotion. So she's very emotional. So eventually I knew she was going to start bawling. Lynn kind of was like, oh, our baby's gone, but you don't really know, Jeff, that she's alive. And just, I mean, do you know the odds of finding us? You know, she's like talking like she's in scientist mode, and that's her freaking kid that is possibly dead and split into particles. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, Jefferson was the only one saying, no, my baby girl's alive. I'm going to get her. You know, I'm like, what is happening? But the Starlink satellite did detect her particles, so that's good. But they wanted to go and get this like particle condenser to try and basically get all of her particles back into matter. And they basically need to find one. And Gamby's like, it's really rare. And so Jefferson's like, well, where would I get one of those? And he's like, in Central City. And I thought he called out Star Labs. And I'm like, how does Gamby know this? How does Gamby know what's in Star Labs? I mean, you just spend your day just hacking people's stuff, seeing what they got. I mean, I thought that was really interesting. It's a good way to tie in what's happening in the Flash. And I'm very happy that Barry was able to run this thing to them, even though I don't know if he had actually gotten his artificial, speed force up by then. But whatever. For plot purposes, he wasn't having speed issues. He was able to get the particle condenser. So yeah, they're using it. It's going to take, I think, 24 hours. And so Jefferson went up into space and he had to absorb the particles to bring them back down, basically, to get all this situated. It was very anticlimactic for me because he went into space and he was like, oh, it's cool up here. And then he like absorbs the particles and then he starts falling for like 20 seconds. And they're like, Jefferson. And he's like, I'm all good. You guys worried? I'm like, yeah, no, Black Lightning can't die. It's like the last season. He's not going to die in this episode. So yeah, very anticlimactic. But again, cool visuals. I like the CG. It's fine. Tobias Well is basically proven to me to be the ultimate Arrowverse villain of all time. That man is so calm. He's like calm. And he just says stuff like it's nothing. Like, he throws out stuff to his minion and his minion has no idea what he's talking about. And he's like, I love white privilege. He's like, basically, he said, you get to be ignorant as hell and still get all the, get all the advantages and respect. Like, you don't know anything. And the lady, Val from Yale, that whole interaction was pretty cool too. The fact that Tobias let her know he wants what he wants when he wants it. I don't know her game. She's weird to me too. So there's a reason she's in these episodes, not just his assistant. I think something's up with her too, but I mean, we won't know that for a while. And his spackle and paint thing was absolutely cool too. I call him his little minion. And when he like hits the coin into the wall and he's like, boy, I got 2 words for you, spackle and paint. Go fix my damn wall. I'm like, it's Tobias. All right. So Lightning at the same time is being framed by our new pretty much chief of police as the person who attacked and killed Lyle Jackson, which we know is not. We know the Lightning didn't do it, and we know Jefferson didn't do it either. I mean, pretty much we know what happened with Lyle Jackson. But she's taking this as an opportunity to push forward her, metahuman task force, where they're going to be going around basically she said she was going to do it. She was going to go around Freeland and just start grabbing metahumans and tagging them. So yeah, something happened to her. And that's why she hates metahumans. There's more to this story. She's got some, issues and she's in her feelings. But she wants Detective Hashan Shakur to be the head of the task force. And he's like, I don't want to. I'm not doing this. I want to do real police work. I don't want to be busting around like it's substituting busting and kicking in doors for weed from busting and kicking in doors from, metahumans. And she's like, well, I'm not really giving you a choice. So as far as we know now, he is the head of this meta task force, and when she released it to the press, she announced him as the head of the meta task force. So this is an issue. Also, something else that I thought is interesting is, and I don't know how many times I have to say this, guys. Lala is stupid. Like, it's like you have a yin and yang. You have Tobias over here and you have Lala over here. And it's like, I don't understand why this man continues to get played all of the time. This man can't die. You think by dying and coming back with all this stuff that he have like a revelation and he's like, hey, I've learned something in these times and all these people and these souls that I'm absorbing. I've learned common sense. But no, he don't have critical thinking skills. He doesn't have common sense because he still keeps making the stupidest mistakes, the dumbest mistakes. Case in point, trusting destiny to meet up to not really have a truce, but to try and help each other out against what's going on, because Lala has a warrant out for him right now. And Destiny's like, well, if they're after 100, then they're going to be coming for us too, me and Lady Eve. And so he literally came there with his guys who are not death proof. They are not expendable. So his guys literally show up, and it was an ambush. The cops were there. And Lala let himself be killed just to get up to beat the crap out of 2 cops and pretty much get away. But my problem with that is that he should never have been in this position to begin with, because he's stupid. I'm like, why are you dumb? The actor is great. I've seen interviews with him. He's amazing. So this is no hate on the man. It's no hate on, I separate my disbelief. I know this is a character. The character of Lala is dumb. But I will tell you one thing about Lala that I liked. He was showing more support for Jefferson than Lynn in this episode. He's like, I'm so glad Black Lightning is back. This city needs somebody to look up to. And I'm like, character assassination, Lynn. Character assassination. Okay, so Hamby is having like this like emotional thing with TC. And I swear to, I think Gamby. And I swear that Gamby is kind of like, how do I say this? He seems to be the moral compass for everyone in the show, which if you really think about it, is kind of interesting, considering he was actually the recruiter for the Green Light Project with the ASA. He has no problem hurting, torturing, and killing people, but he's the one that has like the moral compass. And it's so strange. And if you look at the comics, he's actually the one that really killed Jefferson's dad. So, I mean, all of that stuff is funny that they actually have Gamby as the one basically boosting people up and being pretty much Dr. Phil to everybody in Freeland and the Pierce family. I do love that Jefferson and him had that moment when they were talking, and he was Jefferson was confiding in him how he lost Jen when they were at the store, and he was talking about Gamby was like how kids can make you worry and stress you out and blah blah blah, and he's like, you would know, meaning he acknowledges Gamby as his father figure, which I love that. But I mean, Gamby's was working hard, man. Like Gamby's got a lot on his plate. When Black Lightning did go to the underground fight club that he knows very well because he was fighting in it a lot, he did think that Lala was the one that killed the mayor, but then Lala, of course, said Tobias. I mean, my thing with that is, why didn't Jefferson put that together for himself? He knows that, Tobias plays games. Tobias even referenced playing chess in this episode. So why did he not think, oh, well, this is Tobias? Lala's not smart enough to come up with a plan like this. He's not smart enough. He may be an idiot, but he's not stupid enough to go to an open, forum with his men and shoot the mayor. Because then he knows that that's going to be bad for business and they're going to come after him. So I don't know. I just don't know why he thought Lala was the mastermind behind this when he's never been the mastermind behind anything since season 1. I don't get that at all. Not at all. Not at all, guys. Not at all. Gamby comment though, when he told Jefferson, he told TC that marriages are like secrets. He said they only work out if both sides hold up their end of the bargain. I thought that was some real talk and very foreboding. And I don't know if that really tells us that Lynn and Jefferson may be heading for divorce court. But guys, they did have that little moment where they apologized, and Lynn was like, I shouldn't have said any of that stuff. I'm sorry. And then she like breaks down and he's like, I'm sorry about the attic thing. And I'm like, guys, this is some toxic stuff. There's no difference between what you two are doing with each other verbally that you wouldn't do with each other physically. That is actually verbal abuse on each other. And that is toxic. So yeah, again, no wonder Anissa has issues with Grace already, because she doesn't know how to be in a relationship, because her parents are not good role models for marriage at all. So yeah, Lynn is a complicated biatch. I love her, but man, character assassination. I'm so sad. Now, Destiny made a comment saying that, she got on the phone and she said, well, it's time to basically bring in the new assassin that specializes in metas. Now I don't know who she's referring to, but I am really hoping that this is not how we're getting Painkiller back. And this ties into his series. More than likely she is talking about Khalil. Maybe he's now Painkiller again and going after metas. I don't know. I mean, you saw what he did to Odell in last season. So, I mean, I'm just saying. I think that might be Painkiller that Destiny's bringing in to work for her and Lady Eve. So that's going to be messed up. But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that Painkiller was, opposing them. So there's that. But guys, guys, this is where it got really weird. I don't think Knife Girl is alive. So they basically refer to, the process of bringing back Jen as 3D printing her. And I just thought that was hilarious. And everybody goes to the lab and everybody's like, oh, Jen's back and blah, blah, blah. She's alive. And like, she's coming out. The whole time she was coming out, I'm like, she's going to be naked because this is going to be really awkward for her family. But, Nissa gets the blanket and she like gives it to Jen. And then they all step back and they're like, what the, they're looking at her face. And like, Jen's like, what? Why are you playing? And then we see why. And basically what ends up happening is we are all pretty much, this chick right here is now Jen. Like, she has the new actress for Jen. I am very curious to see how they explain how this child right here is now Jen. Now, I will say this. I am excited about it because I knew that China was leaving. She basically has decided she wants to give up, acting. Well, at least prospectively in Hollywood, she wants to do more of, she's very religious. She wants to follow her heart and her religion and God and whatever. And we're not hating on her for that, but they had to do something because we're in the middle of season 4 and she isn't even giving them the full season. She's like, I'm out. So, this is episode 5, she's gone. So this is the new Jen. And I'm very curious how they're going to tie her in when this is literally the last freaking season. This poor child's coming in here with a big role and big boots to fill and not a lot of time to win the audience over. So I have mad props for her, but Lord help her. Like, Lord help her. But yeah, that the whole episode in itself, just for Black Lightning, and I'll look at your questions in a minute, guys. I want to get through all 3 of these shows as recaps, and then we can talk about it because I don't want to keep you guys up late. But I'm telling you, Black Lightning, if I've learned anything from this episode, that's Lynn is being character assassinated. The Pierces are dysfunctional as hell. Tobias is the best villain the Arrowverse has ever had. Lala's the biggest idiot I've ever seen. Metahumans are about to have pretty much a shitstorm on their hands. And Gamby's the moral compass, which is very strange. Again, if you compare his character to his past and his comic book persona, it's a mess. It is all a mess. So yeah, that was our beautiful review of Black Lightning. So now we're going to go to our next wonderful, because we have to talk about The Flash. Because it's another level of dysfunction, guys. Because again, the theme of the day, for some damn reason, is dysfunction across all 3 of these shows. Everybody needs therapy. So the episode starts off, we have Cisco back from, he went to Atlantis to get some tech. And I think it's cool that they took Nash, they had like different elements of different wells, but that you see them, they have Nash's gear, putting it on the mannequin. He's calling it nano engraved. So basically they're starting the Flash Museum for all of their fallen friends and heroes. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Barry is having, like, of course, a lot of issues, kind of dealing with the fact that he thinks his heart is the reason everybody gets over on him. And I think it's his common sense because, like Lala, he has very little. So Barry's always made stupid choices. So I don't know why he's now reflecting on this. It's just like, oh, everybody uses this against me. No, it's because you don't use your brain, dear. You're supposed to be very highly intelligent, but you're dumb sometimes. So that is the problem with that. But so Barry's like, oh yeah, Ava was the reason that, Ava, none of this would have happened if I had realized that Iris was a clone earlier and, a copy, and I was manipulated, yada, yada. And of course, Joe is like, don't do it, Because I mean, he's so used to this by now. He's just like, you gonna blame yourself again? Damn, it's like every week. Like, I don't have enough in me to be pumping you up, boy. I'm tired. My daughter's in the Mirrorverse. So I thought that was really funny. But Cisco, he has the Atlantis tech. It's not working. So he pretty much thinks that, it's a dud and they're back to square one. And then we get the revelation that Barry, basically, because of the artificial speed force, his cognitive ability is basically moving super fast. And what I loved about this is this man went completely Vulcan. He went Vulcan. If you are a Star Trek fan or a Trekkie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This man came out here rolling like Spock, talking data, talking about the computers with no emotion, nothing. He was just like, oh yeah, this factual 5.34, they're all just liabilities. I'm like, what the heck? Everybody's a liability. I'm smarter than you. I'm infinite. I have no emotions and I don't hold back. And it was like on point when he calculated that Ava was going to go hit up another one of the stash houses that her husband had some of his tech that she's trying to get rid of. And he literally let Killer Frost get hit. I was like, what? He was like, well, I mean, I could have saved her, but there was a 0.78% chance that this, the device we're using to suck out the particles from Eva to get her dark, particles to get into and create our own mirror portal would be destroyed. And I'm like, that is logical. I'm like, I mean, it was logical. So yeah, they knew that because they knew Ava had used Ramsey's bullet originally to open the portal in the first place. And so, her having the dark particles, they knew it. But man, that was funny. Woo, it's funny. Now, Eva's she's having issues because she realized last that she's actually the copy. The real, Eva actually died the day she got sucked into the mirror world. I will segue saying something is going on with Iris. I feel like she's becoming another Eva or another person able to manipulate the mirror powers because she seems to know a lot that's going on in the Mirrorverse and she seems to be adapting to it. So if they're planning on having Iris become a metahuman with Mirrorverse powers, I am not opposed to this. I think that would be really cool. Because Iris gets a lot of crap. Like, look in this episode when Barry, I'm going to get a little ahead of myself, but when Barry basically tells them they don't have enough dark particles to save all of them, they could either save Camilla and Singh, or they can save Iris, but they can't save all three. And he starts running simulations on what they're going to say. And all of them, he votes for Iris and everybody else votes for Camilla and for Singh, which didn't really happen. And as Cisco points out, you can't predict what people's emotions are, which is something a computer doesn't understand. But I just thought it was so funny because when Killer Frost was I'm like, yeah, I totally Killer Frost saying leave Iris, and especially with all the drama behind the scenes, I thought that was funny as hell. But yeah, I really want Iris to get those Mirrorverse abilities. I think it would make her really cool. You don't have to have powers to be cool. So don't get me wrong. You can be just as effective without powers, but I think an interesting spin on that. Very cool. So anyway, again, the Speed Force gave him this new power. He's become a Vulcan. He has literally, he has no inhibitions. He has no emotions. He is just straight facts running simulations by the minute. At the same time, Allegra is having problems dealing with Nash dying, which is so sad. I felt bad for her, just like she was talking about her dad, left her. And so she pushed everybody away. And that's why she pushed Nash away, the person that was trying to be her dad figure. That was sad to me. But something happened. And since this is not significant to the plot, I'm just going to jump ahead. Remember, and I think it was the end of season 1 or early season 2, they show what actually happened to Harrison, the real Harrison Wells, who was on the bridge, there was a wreck or whatever. And of course, Thawne kills him and takes his identity and he buries him. Well, what we saw at the end of this episode was the real Wells was not dead. He literally he rose up in green data and was standing on top of his grave. At first I got excited because, whenever I see the color green, I think I'm a lantern. I'm like, is he a lantern? Does he have a lantern ring? Is Wells a freaking Green Lantern? But I didn't see a ring, so I got upset. But I don't know what's about. I don't know what that means, what he's supposed to be. I was trying to think about the Flash comics, and I can't, even in DC world, I can't think of anything that would do that. Not saying that it can't happen, but I don't know anything that would make him rise from the dead like that outside of maybe a Black Lantern ring, and then he'd be a zombie. So I don't know. I think that was, for me. Was it last season, Job George? I know it was one. I remember seeing the scene. I just can't place which season it was, but I really think that stuff there, whew, man. So yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. They're doing something. I knew Wells wasn't going to be gone. You can't have Flash without a Wells in every season of some sort. So, but now they got me curious. I'm actually more curious about this storyline than what's happening, with everyone else. All right, so let's get back to this. So they get back after, they confront Ava. Barry's able to run around her, take some particles, go back with, and he's able to give a cure to Killer Frost to get her cells to, basically fight off the toxic or whatever the particles that Ava has. So legit, but he keeps getting more and more and more and more robotic and more AI than human. So I think it was really interesting, the whole showdown between Cisco, Killer Frost, and Allegra. And my thing with Cisco, I always wonder if he actually regrets now giving up his powers as Vibe, because he wanted to have a normal life, but he can't have a normal life. He's on Team Flash. I'm like, it was actually completely idiotic to give away your powers when people come for you all the freaking time. You know this. And I understand you're worried about what happens when you age and you start losing your memory or whatever's happening with why did her name go out of my head? His girlfriend's name that I completely forgot that died. Her father. Like, he's losing his faculties, probably from vibing so much and manipulating the portals. So I understand he's scared about that. But I mean, I just feel like Cisco is always freaking attacked at all freaking times. And like in Team Flash, any advantage that you have, Gypsy, thank you. Any advantage that you have on Team Flash seems to be like something you hold on to, not get rid of. So it's really weird that Cisco's over there with his gun trying to, basically take out Barry, at least get him so he's incapacitated with his speed, because they realized that the reason that he's showing no emotion is that they didn't want to put any negative, particles into the artificial speed force like Thawne did. They wanted him to actually not have any emotional side effects from using the speed. But that what basically happened is he became an AI. He became a Vulcan. That's what he became. Because Vulcans don't care. They do, but they don't care. They care like once every 7 years. So... So yes, but he hit him with the velocity X. It slowed him down for like a hypersecond. Killer Frost injected herself with it. I will say that was a badass scene. Her running with pretty much with the artificial speed force in her, making her a temporary speedster and ice powers, was really freaking cool. Barry still unfortunately beat the crap out of her. It did take Allegra and her to bring him back. And they did try I think it was the Babel protocols is what they used to try and subdue him. But they didn't realize, because his brain works so fast, he had already calculated they were going to do all that. And he uses the quantum ball that Cisco introduced in the series, to take them all out, because that's just so messed up. And I kind of figured that was going to come into play when they first were doing experiments to see how fast he could think and his reflexes and all that. So yeah, Cisco got beaten by his own invention, which is pretty messed up. And now here comes the most messed up part of this whole thing, besides him talking about Camilla and Singh being unnecessary. And the only reason he was saving Iris is because she knew Ava and she's been in the Mirrorverse long, for the most amount of time, is that he literally opened the mirror portal, saw Iris. She said, we need to get Singh and we need to get, Camilla back because they're not doing well here. And he forcibly ripped her out of the Mirrorverse, like forcibly ripped her out. And I'm like, wow. And he still wasn't showing emotion. He was not showing anything until she started like technically almost seizing on the ground. And then he was like, oh, and he looked around and he's like seeing his, his friends on the ground. He's like, oh, and then he looks in the lightning at the speed force to stop it. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, the damage is done. You already did it now. Why are you stopping the thing that gives you your speed? Because your people are unconscious. Your wife's pretty much dying. And it's your fault, Barry, because you make interesting choices. I'm just saying. And then I can't forget in this episode, the one thing that I thought was very cool. I thought it was cool. So Vulcanberry, I love that. He like basically hacked into Ava's company's database and found the video of what really happened, of the real Ava dying and her, being the copy. And she was on a TV show. I don't know if it was TV or internet based, but he hacked and actually played the video. And so everybody saw what she really was, including her little posse. And so you see her sitting by the mirror saying, "This is not my world. This is not my world." And I was like, "Oh, hell." And then she said, "But it could be." I was like, "Yep." I knew she was about to make some mirror pod people. And what does she do? You see this cop leaving in the precinct. She like gets in the elevator. She drops something, goes to pick it up and looks. And then she sees an evil mirror version of herself. And I guess it just pulls her in. So now not only are they going to have to get Camilla and Sing out, they're probably going to have to get everybody in Central City out of the damn mirror because why not? Why not? So yes, this episode was great. It's another reminder for me that they, like the Pierces, need to be in the therapy. They all need to be in therapy together. They could be a Justice League of therapy. A therapy league. That's what they should be. Because they all got problems, like every last one of them. And I can't, if I'm talking about dysfunctional, I can't not talk about Superman and Lois. So let's just roll right in. So Lois is still after Morgan Edge. And I like the scene in the beginning. They're having a family moment where Superman tells them that, they're painting, and his favorite painting shade so far was Huntsman's Tribute, which Jonathan lovingly points out is another name for poop. Because, I'm like, Huntsman's Tribute. I guess that makes sense. But then he has to leave to go save people on this bridge. And I will say that gave me like Christopher Reeves freaking feels. That whole scene looked like it was out of Superman 1, but with better, obviously better cameras and better production, because they, it's 2021 and that was done in the 70s. So I absolutely loved that scene. That scene was like the epiphany of cool. That scene for me, just how it was shot, made up for all of Crisis on Infinite poop. So that made me happy. So let's talk about some stuff. So the Powers talk was amusing. I love when his boys were like, "Well, have you ever heard anything embarrassing?" And then of course Jonathan's like, "With nudity." I'm like, "We know where your mind is." If Jonathan has powers, I think him being turned on is going to be bringing his stuff out. But of course, Superman's like, "When you're older." And we also learned in this episode that he must have overheard something that Lois didn't want him to hear, because it almost made them break up. So that I would really love to hear the story, but all we know is that he blew his salary on flowers to even get her to talk to him. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, she even said, "You almost lost me." So I was like, "Well, that's what you doing, Superman." And then of course he does it again to his sons. But guys, I'm just going to say this. And this is very stereotypical, okay? Now, I know I had a white European mother, but she didn't play either. I had a Scottish mother. I don't know if you know about Scottish culture. They don't play with their children. My father was Black and Native American. Neither of those cultures play around with their kids. If I talked to my parents the way Jordan talked or Sarah talked to their parents in this episode, baby, there would be no ATN, because Maria would have died. I would have been gone. And as a parent, if my daughter talked to me that way, I would create a multiverse, because I would need to, because that's literally the only way she could live. So the fact that these parents do not understand how to snatch a knot in their kid is very interesting to me. I'm just throwing it out there because like it's so like everything about me gets just cringes when I'm like, when they're like screaming, "Why don't you just stay away?" I'm like, little boy. I'm like, little boy. Oh, you're about to get your super A whooped. I'm like, whew, I just had to digress that. And Lois, God love her, she tries to be. So hear me out on this. I feel like Lois is the helicopter parent, because she's the one that tells Clark, "You just really need to figure out what's going on with them. You need to find what's making them angry and deal with it. You need to do this. All right, I'm out. I'm going to go track this story down." And it's like, why can't you go talk to Jordan? Why can't you go figure it out? What? I'm like, why? I got to do it all. I got to save the world and come over and be dad. And while you running around borrowing my truck and getting your freaking station wagon blown up, come on. What's up, Lois? Come on, girl. I just had to get that out. All right, so back to one of the bad teens, Sarah, Lana and Kyle's daughter. She tried to kill herself, and so of course she's in therapy. I think it happened the previous summer, probably a year now. And Kyle and Lana are fighting about it in the car, and she's going to see this doctor named Dr. Lawrence. And she goes during school hours, so which I get, but it's really showing us just how messed up Lana's family is, because again, they need to be in therapy too. And she even talks to Clark and says, well, first of all, her and her daughter kind of have it out. Sarah quits cheerleading. She basically is talking smack about her family. She's like literally spilling the tea at everything in their house. You can't even go to sleep without taking a pill, and you and dad don't even sleep in separate rooms. And apparently her sister Sophie is like freaking evil. Like she needs her butt whooped first. But like the whole way that played out just shows you just how messed up Lana's life is. And my worry is, as this is going to create a love triangle, because this is a CW show, we cannot forget this. I am worried that this is going to start a love triangle with Clark, with Lois, and with Lana. Even when Clark is talking about how he tried out for the baseball team, which I'll get to in a second, he said he did it for a girl, and I think he was talking about Lana. So like this whole thing is making me very concerned, because Lana is not happy and is trying to find how to be happy. We already learned in the pilot she's been trolling Clark's Facebook page. Yeah, I think they're setting something up, and I think things are about to get very interesting, and soap opera and dramatic, which I don't like. I don't want it to get to that level. So I'm kind of like, I'm putting this little fear bubble out there, and I'm hoping that it pops, because I don't want that to happen. But it really seems like it's going to happen. And it also seems like Jordan and Sarah are definitely not only a repeat of them in school, but OG Smallville's Clark and Lana. They have so much in common, so many elements. Like Lana was messed up because her parents died in OG, and Clark was like wanted to be on the football team because Lana's boyfriend was on the football team. It's just such a weird thing how they're following that trope. And while I'm on OG Smallville, guys, I got to nitpick and I got to say stuff. So let me get my big jug of water of truth. I'm drinking the water of truth now. Drinking the water of truth, guys. Plus, I'm thirsty. In Crisis on Infinite Poop, Clark from OG Smallville had to give up his powers to get his Lois pregnant. Then why is that not true still for Arrowverse Superman and Lois? Does he have like special casing on his sperm? I mean, I'm sorry if I'm getting a little vulgar here, but I'm just really confused because I never understood how they had sex to begin with. But I really need to know, because it doesn't make sense, especially since I am convinced Tyler's Superman Arrowverse and Tom Welling's Superman from Smallville's OG series, if they went head to head, even with Tom Welling, with him not having powers, Tom Welling Superman would win, or Clark would win. Because he's still super strong. I mean, he is like built. And I'm like, I feel like it doesn't make sense. Now, Mercy, I know technically they did go to Argo, but again, when they went to the Fortress of Solitude, he had a way in Smallville to turn his powers off. Why couldn't they just bam, bam, bam in the Fortress of Solitude? She gets knocked up, they go home. I don't understand. Nobody's going to convince me that was not just a way of appeasing Tom Welling and getting him to do that because he didn't want to be Superman in the suit. That's what that was, because it doesn't make a lick of sense. So, I just had to ask this question, guys. My nugget of truth. All right. So Jordan's joining the football team, which is something Clark did in OG Smallville. And he did it because he got tired of people bullying him because of him kissing Sarah, which if you think about it, he did kiss another guy's girlfriend. So he kissed Sean's girlfriend. But what I did like about this is that, yes, he was using his elevated strength. And yes, he was like, kind of showing off to try and knock the people down, especially the guy that knocked him on the stairs and told him to stay in his lane. That was the first guy he took out on the field. I love the fact that throughout all of these interactions, when Sean challenged him and pretty much Jordan knocked him on his A, he held his hand out and he said, "I'm sorry for kissing, Sarah. That was wrong." And Sean took his hand and said, "Thanks." And I feel like they're going to be friends. And I really am hoping that Sean is going to be his version of Pete, like Clark used to have in OG Smallville before all that crap happened with the actor. So I think that is really cool if that's where they're going. But I don't know. I really hope that we do see him more because, I need to have more minorities in Smallville. I need to have that. And I need to have more minorities with like, words and lines. So I need Smallville to not be what traditional, American small towns are. So I need that to happen. So I was very excited about that. But I always feel so sorry for Jonathan because they always made Jonathan to be out the good, like the golden boy, but he really is more like Lois. And so he's the one that has to just understand and be the pacifist and be the voice of reason. So not only was like when his brother went to try out for the football team, the coach made him go run laps for not telling him that his twin was so badass. And I'm like, how is that even fair? Am I my brother's keeper? I mean, that's some BS right there. But by the end of the day, even though Jonathan's kind of jealous because football was his identity, was his thing, and he feels like, his brother's coming along with these abilities and taking it, he could have gone a different way with that. But instead, he actually convinced Clark to allow him to be on the team because his brother looked happy and was making friends. This is why I like Jonathan's character. Yes, he says some problematic stuff because he doesn't think sometimes, but he is literally light years better than Jordan is. Jordan has moments where he's so sweet and like a hurt little injured animal, but that boy's got Brightburn potential. I mean, you need to watch him because he flies off. Like he literally goes from level 1 to 20, skipping 2 through 19. That boy, yeah, they need to watch him. They need to watch him. And he gets so mad. He's like, "You think I'm just going to explode?" I'm like, "You're exploding now." I'm like, "You're doing it right now." So that, guys, I'm like, guys, I got questions. All right. So I love the fact that Lois is still trying to take on Morgan Edge. They do meet a woman whose son, Sharon Prow is her name, and her son was asked to do a special job for Morgan Edge. And then she got a voicemail saying this job isn't what I thought it was. And then he like disappeared or whatever. And so Lois is like a dog with a bone. She's trying to like figure out what's going on. And then, she's working for the Smallville Gazette for Olive Oil from Chrissy, I'm sorry, I can't help it. She looks like an actress so much, it just drives me nuts. She's, of course the editor's like, we have to do the fluff pieces. And she's like, we don't really have the funds to investigate more Edge. And just when she said that, the bomb goes in the station. I love how Clark and Lois are just so cool about it. He's like, this isn't your first cocktail. I'm like, what? Your wife could have been in that car. He's just like he was totally down after somebody tried to basically blow her up in a station wagon to give her the keys to his truck and allow her to drive off to, I think it was New Carpet, where she was going to meet Sharon at this our motel to talk about more people that have gone missing. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm in the middle of the night. I'm just going to drive out here by myself in the truck." And he's like, "Are you going to bring it back?" And she's like 50-50. And I'm like, okay, I guess they developed this level of trust where even though Lois could potentially die, he just has to be okay with that. So instead of him going with her and sitting in the truck and waiting for her to come out, I'm independent. I'm going to go. But she does go. And then we see that there is a man in the motel room and literally he starts trying to choke her out and kill her. And she gets a pen and stabs him and it does nothing hardly. But she pushes I call it the magical Superman dog whistle. And I don't think I've ever seen Superman get anywhere that fast, except for the issue where she got shot. I think it was in Iraq when Lois Lane got shot. And he flew around like the globe in like 1.2 minutes from Metropolis to Iraq or Afghanistan, and then got her to the military hospital and then got her to a watchtower in space. And like, I think the whole process was like amazingly quick. So outside of that, that is the fastest I've ever seen Superman get anywhere. But he got his butt kicked at the beginning because the guy also had powers. Now, not Kryptonian powers. He's just very super strong. So to me, it almost looked like they were on the same level, but he doesn't have as many powers as Superman. So of course he, uses his freezing breath to freeze him, and then starts like beating him around like Hulk did with Thor in the Avengers movie. Then he gets away. And so at this point, they know something's going on, because why would Morgan Edge have somebody working for him that has powers? So I don't know. I felt like that is the key to, I don't know what Morgan Edge's game is or what he's looking for, but if this has to do with minds, it could be anything. It could be kryptonite. It could be anything. But he's got a lot of interesting people that are working for him. And then at the end, like literally at the end of the episode, we see the guy that attacked Lois driving off, and he's talking on the phone, and he's like, well, Superman showed up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, Laura's going to take care of it. And then next thing you know, we see a woman walking up to him, and she has heat vision, and she basically incinerates him with it. And what's interesting for me is that she could be, I'm trying to see if I have a picture of her. She literally could be anybody. Like, here she is. So, and when I say that, so this is her. And let me see if I can make this bigger. I know I got a small picture. I'm sorry. So check this out. In the episode, this looked red. So it looks like she's actually got red kryptonite on. I don't know if this is true. I don't know. I need to watch some reviews to see if anybody else comes up with this conclusion. But so this made me have some questions here. So her name is Laura. We know it's not, in no way, shape, or form, that is not Clark's mother from Krypton. A lot of people are probably, as an Injustice fan, I have Injustice dolls over there, they're going to say that's probably Clark's daughter in Injustice, or the one that would have been born and then it comes back in Gods Among Us. I don't think that's who she is. I don't think she's, there's two others. There's an agent, like a secret agent. Like when Lois Lane becomes like this on this task force, and she has a daughter in this alternate universe with Superman, and her name is Laura. I don't think that's her. And I don't think that she is, I don't think she's Wonder Woman and Superman's either. Well, I believe that she's from the same Earth that Captain Luthor is from. And I think she wears that red kryptonite to turn off her feelings, because she went through some trauma with the Superman of her world. And I think she's working with Morgan Edge to try and get rid of Superman. That's what I think is happening. And again, she could be some future daughter of Superman and Lois. If that's true, she's going to be very, 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 very much younger than her older brothers. But I really believe that she's from the same Earth as Captain Luthor. And I think she's there to make sure that she takes the Superman of that world out, so it doesn't happen. What happened to that world doesn't happen to hers. That also make her that world's future Supergirl. But I don't know. Now, somebody thinks, Leslie Lara is also an option. I think they're making Lara their own Arrowverse version of a character. So say if that is Leslie Lar, it would be the Arrowverse, and she'll have a different backstory, much like everyone else, like Caitlin does as Killer Frost. How Vibe has a different backstory. I mean, they make villains heroes. So, I mean, I think that it's going to be completely different in the Arrowverse. But I didn't think about that. Well, okay, so somebody else, because I went a watch party with one of my friends when we were watching it, and somebody in my group thought, matter of fact, I'll look at it. They thought she could have been, sorry, because I love coming up with conspiracy theories on DC. But where is it? They thought she was, oh no, this is just saying what I thought. So they thought that she was going to be the Amazon hybrid Lara. So they thought that she was Wonder Woman's daughter. Which, considering we don't have Wonder Woman well, do we though? I don't know. We don't know about this Earth Superman. We have no idea who he's met. That's the problem that I have. He could have met all kinds of people, because his time battling the original Lex Luthor is gone. So he's had a lot of people in his past and stories in his past that we don't know about. So, I mean, honestly, he could have been in another version of the Justice League, but it wouldn't. But then that wouldn't make sense because with Crisis, everything got rewritten, and he has a second son now. I mean, there's so much, guys. That's the one problem I have with Crisis. Having these after effects of Crisis is kind of bad because there's no follow through, and then it creates a lot of like plot holes and a lot of like questions that we don't really need, like because it wasn't that good. So I don't know, but one thing I do know is that necklace looks like red kryptonite, and she's definitely Kryptonian. So could she be half Kryptonian? Yes. We don't know the scope of her powers, but if she is Superman and Wonder Woman's daughter from an alternate timeline or something of that would be kind of cool just to cross that in. But I don't know. It's just interesting her, because there's so many DC characters with the name Laura or Lar in it that she really could be anyone. But I really want to believe that they're making their own, because this is what the CW does, guys. They make their own version of everyone. Like, look at like Black Canary. Her name was Laurel Lance, but it wasn't Dinah Laurel Lance. Her mother was Dinah Laurel Lance, but technically Laurel Lance was also Dinah Laurel Lance in the comics. And Laurel was nothing like Dinah in freaking Arrowverse. Nothing. Her dad didn't train her to join the force. She was not the street fighter that, she wasn't trained by Wildcat in Arrowverse. There was no Wildcat in Arrowverse. Now we have him in Stargirl technically, but we don't have that backstory. So basically the CW does whatever they want. So more than likely, I mean, this could be their own original version of a character that they modified. Wouldn't be the first time this has happened. Won't be the last. So yeah. The necklace was a throwback to Lana's green one from Smallville, similar design. It was, yeah. She had green kryptonite, what they call meteorites from her parents' death, I think. I want to say it was the meteorite that killed her parents is what that was. I remember the bad Superman, the drunken and enraged one. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember that movie, the Superman 3. I wish I didn't. Like... I would believe it's possible because Clark and Lois are married and Wonder Woman is pre that. Yeah. Like I said, we don't, the thing about this Clark is we don't know his whole backstory. It makes it seem like it was just Smallville and there was just Metropolis and then there was nothing. And I don't think it's that cut and dry. So I don't know. We do know that he spent some years at the Fortress of Solitude, and they're making it seem like it was more like Christopher Reeve's version, where he literally lived there for a couple of years and not just went back and forth like Clark did in Smallville. So I don't know. Laurel did train with Wildcat in Flash. Well, but in the Arrow series, in the original Arrow series, originally that didn't happen until later. What I mean is, when she was trying to become Black Canary, like her whole origin story didn't make sense. Like, she actually should have been in another realm asleep, and then her mother should have had to sacrifice her life. And then, because she was dying from radiation, to wake her daughter up. And then she got all of her mother's memories. The whole story was just completely different, completely different. But then she also didn't grow up with Oliver. So they reinvented all of that. But for me, one of the biggest tragedies in the Arrowverse was what they did to Black Canary. And then they came up with Black Siren, and Black Siren, to me, take away the, sociopathic tendencies until she got a little bit better at the end of the series. But she was a better, like, Black Canary than Laurel ever was. So it was hard. It was hard, guys. Flash was acting so not himself. He was acting like Thinker. No, he was a Vulcan. Thinker would get mad. Thinker would get disturbed. That man was showing no emotion whatsoever. He was speaking like he was talking like he was Spock, and he was on the bridge talking to Kirk. That's what he was doing. Black Siren was more powerful. I agree with that. She was cooler. But then that to me would have been, to me, my dream version of Black Canary. Just do away with Felicity altogether and actually get more on point with that. And that would have been really cool. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to move up. Lois is steady, always in danger. She is always going after powerful people, but at least she's not stuck in a dang mirror. Look, you guys leave Iris alone. Like, I feel bad for Iris. I really do, because she's not a scientist. She's not, like, she's put in these roles where she becomes team leader. But I mean, I will say this, and I said this a long time ago. I did a video, like a nerdcore video about Iris West, and is she, should she have been basically leader of Team Flash? And is she really as bad as people think? So, do you remember a show, if you watched it on the Sci-Fi Channel, called Eureka? And you know that they had a sheriff who was with, I think he was an FBI and a ranger, and then he became the town sheriff of Eureka. That man didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about chemistry, physics, like nothing. He had zero science knowledge. But who was the one who always figured out how to save everybody in the town? Do you want to know why? Because when you are a scientist, you think logically, but you can't think outside the box. And the reason I love that show is these people are like so into the numbers don't add up. We can't figure this out. This is what this does. And if we do this, this will cause this. And then he comes along and says, well, why can't we just come over here and put this in this machine and push this button like right here? And they're like, concept. Like, so that's how I felt with Iris. Because if you think about what Iris would do, Iris is not a science person. She does first of all, she has a degree in psychology, which people tend to forget. If you really look at season 1, she was getting her master's degree in psychology. So you have to be intelligent and know how to handle people and read people and assess things if you're taking psychology. I know this because my spouse has a degree in psychology. So my problem with everybody hating on her is that psychology degree plus a father who is a cop. She passed the entrance exam to get into police academy. The only reason she didn't become a cop is because Joe didn't want her to be hurt. So he wouldn't let her join the force. So then Barry talked her into taking journalism classes. She didn't like it. Then she kind of got into it after her blog stuff and realized she was actually good at investigating stuff. So she's an investigative journalist. An investigative journalist like Lois Lane looks at things from different angles that are beyond science and logic. So her being the team leader, in terms of her trying to basically figure out all of the mumbo jumbo that they're all freaking out and doing, because let's be fair, Cisco, when he gets overwhelmed, he freaks out. If they don't have Wells around, they act like they can't do anything. And Caitlin, she's more of a bio and medical engineer. So her saying just logical, asking questions. She would ask something, why can't we just do this? And then it would be like, psh. She wasn't solving anything. She was getting them to solve it by actually saying, hey, you guys are using critical thinking and logic, and that's great, but why don't we think outside the box? And that was her role as team leader. That's why I didn't hate Iris as team leader. Quite frankly, I'm going to be real with you. I don't think any of them should be leaders. In the Flash, just look at them trajectorily. If you look at everything that's happened in this series, Barry has recreated people's futures and lives with Flashpoint. Cisco has done a lot. He hasn't made major mistakes, but some of the decisions and choices he's made has led other people to make mistakes. Don't get me started on all the Wells. I'm sorry. Caitlin and the Killer Frost thing, that was very, very interesting. Everybody in the team has kind of effed up at some point or another. I did something to F up at some point or another, but everybody hates on Iris. Why don't they hate on Barry? I'm just saying. Why doesn't anyone hate on Barry? Who has been the number one person in the entire series that has messed up a majority of the time? I can't go back in time and save my mother. It'll change things. But you shot my dad. So now I'm going to go back in time and create Flashpoint and change things. Concept. Everything. Every choice Barry has made has led to something stupid. I'm sorry. It's one of the reasons I don't hate the series, but it's one of the reasons that you never found me reviewing this show is because I have a memory. And I think back to all of the crap that it could have been avoided had Barry had critical thinking skills. So anyway, if people are going to hate on Iris, I think they need to hate on her hubby too, because he's actually worse. Just saying. Um, Flash was pulling Iris through that thing, and she was like, "No, help them first." And Flash said, "Come with me now." No, he was a Vulcan. I'm telling you, I've done the math. All of the that's how you talk. All of our calculations have confirmed that I should save you first. They can all die. They are not important because according to these calculations, they are expendable. And it's like, okay, Spock. I'm like, freaking Vulcan. That's what he was. He sounded like Spock. It was awesome. Frost was looking cute tonight. Oh yeah, Daniel Panabaker is pretty. I don't like her character. I don't like Caitlin at all. Killer Frost is whatever, but I don't like Caitlin. I don't know what it is. Caitlin bothers me on a lot of levels. But that's just me. Flash was pulling Iris and she was like, boo boo, help them first, shaking my head. But I mean, it's true though. They were dying. They were on the ground. She was standing up fine because Iris has acclimated to this mirror world. So then why in the heck would you, like, honestly, he should have thought about that. He's doing all these calculations, but he didn't think about biologically. If you go on a trip somewhere and you're from a place that's really humid and then you go somewhere that has like Mediterranean like weather, you have to adjust to that. So if you're trapped in a mirror world and you have to come back to the real world, your body has to adjust for that. And he didn't think about that. He didn't calculate what would happen if you take someone from one point of a world or reality to another. Will you die? Can you breathe? Can you whatever? He didn't think about that. So that's interesting. I mean, he should have really thought about how she was surviving all this time. Though I will say, Ava's nothing if not nice because she was giving them like fast food, internet access, all this stuff. I think I said this last week that she kept them. She basically is allowing Iris to save herself. If she really didn't want Iris to go out, Iris would be in the dark with no food, no water, and dead by now. That's literally how that would work. But she's not doing that because Iris has main character insurance. So that's what it is. Iris is definitely not going to die like Elian Gilbert on that dang bridge. Iris wants to live. Yes, Ray. That's funny. Caitlin is boring. She is boring as hell. She's boring. And I don't know why they keep spotlighting her and stuff. It's boring. No. I mean, it wouldn't be the Flash if somebody didn't make bad choices. No, you mean it wouldn't be Barry if he didn't make bad choices. Like he makes bad choices all the time. Oh, Lord. Let's see. Moving up. Thinking outside the box is key. Thank you. I'm telling you. I work in an industry. My day job outside of my voiceover career, I work for the National Kidney Foundation, which if you guys are a Blurred Without Fears channel, he actually ended up doing a live stream for my organization with my friend Kyle Abear, who I worked at Funimation with. And he kind of understood that my job, you have to think outside the box, because if I work in fundraising and I have COVID and we're in pandemic and we can't have live events anymore, we can't have fundraising drives, everything has to turn to virtual now. We have to be creative and find ways to run different campaigns virtually without ever being near each other, try and raise money for kidney patients. That is difficult and it is hard. So, I mean, we're thrown into unfamiliar territory, but we're doing it. And that's what I liked about Iris. Iris, her man was gone, didn't know if he was ever coming back, trapped in the Speed Force. Everybody's looking to her. Because, I mean, think about this. Everybody's looking to Iris. They're not looking at Caitlin. They're not looking at Cisco. No, hell, not even Joe. Everyone's like, so what do we do now? I'm like, well, why don't you tell me? Like, as much as I think that Cisco and them have leadership potential, it's not that they can't be leaders. They didn't want to be. Like, they didn't want the job. They wanted to do their role. They didn't want to become the person making the calls. So Iris had to do it. And that is effed up. And then she got a lot of hate. And I just felt really bad for her. Like that, I felt bad for her actress. Because, I mean, they were making that stuff personal for her. And I thought that was really messed up. So no one's letting Barry off the hook, says Flashpoint. And they better not. They better not. Let's see. What is happening? Iris is definitely not gonna. Oh, we got that one. That's a nice privileged person in the world. Lock me up. That story with Harrison Wells at the end, it freaked me out. Her sleeping with the technical boss. You can't tell me the qualifications she got is what she doing that loft with him. Wow. You throwing some heat today, Ray? Ask yourself, who else Team Flash's spouse would even be considered? I mean, I think Cecile is the most qualified, and she's a meta and a leader and knows a lot. Yeah, but at the time, her powers were all over the place. Plus, she didn't want to do it either. I mean, Joe could have done it. He's now what, police commissioner or chief of police, whatever. He could have done it. He could have been the one in charge. He didn't try. Nobody stepped up to that. Nobody. They had episodes where Iris was being told by the people, why we listen to you? You're not even qualified, you know? Like, but you guys don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. Team Flash would have dissolved after Barry left. And I really do believe that. They still would have had Star Labs, but it would have been nothing. So, yeah. I mean, I got to cut girls some slack. Now, if you really want to talk about character assassination, they need to bring Wally back. I enjoyed Wally's actor, and I really wish, and I know the actor made the choice to cut back because he was going to be on Legends, but I mean, even when he was on The Flash, he didn't get enough time. It really irritated me. Be nice to Wally West. Wally West is a great character, both in and out of the comics. Why are you mean to him? Wally, #Wally West matters. That's all I'm going to say. Iris' superpowers is bikini and her dance handcuffs. Ray Alexander. Stop it. Wally did get screwed. Next episode of Flash is going to be dope. She's pulling the mirror and replacing them shelves. It's going to be good. Yeah, I saw the preview. I'm looking forward to it. But I already knew. And think about this. Everyone was like, you just made somebody who's unstable more unstable, and there are going to be consequences. And of course, he's like, nah, it's all fine. We got to stir her up to make her not realize what we're actually doing. And I'm like, no, you made her nuts. More nuts than she already is, because she didn't know she was crazy. And that's what was saving people. But now she knows she's not real. So she's like, I'm not a real girl. I'm pretty much Pinocchio, Pinocchio Anna. And so if I can't be part of this world, then I'll just make everybody be like me. And then everybody will be in our world. And we'll take the Mirrorverse and we'll put it outside. That is going to be a mess. That is going to be a mess. And I am here for it. Scroll up. Sorry, guys. Trying to make sure I get all these questions because I know we're talking about 3 shows. It's the easiest way for me to do these, guys. The Superman show becoming like Love and Hip Hop. Yep, I can see that with the Lois and Lana. That would be funny. The Kryptonian colony with Red Sun, where they don't have the Yellow Sun powers. There was no Argo in the Smallville universe. No, they didn't need Argo. They literally, remember when Jor-El made his powers go away to punish him, because to teach him a lesson? The freaking Fortress of Solitude, you just got to go there and do it. You just got to go there. That's what happened in Superman 2. He went into this thing. It took his Kryptonian DNA away. He basically knocked boots with Lois Lane. Apparently she got pregnant, because then we got that crappy Superman Returns movie, where the only cool thing about that movie for me was that Brandon Routh was Superman. He actually was really good in that role. But suspend your disbelief. The Fortress of Solitude can take away your Kryptonian powers. So if you really, 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 really want to have a baby, you take your wife to the Fortress of Solitude, turn off temporarily your Kryptonian heritage, and then have sex with your wife. It ain't brain science, guys. It's not. It's just not. Let's see. Barry's like, don't question plot. I do what I want. Yes. He is the plot Flash. He runs through that freaking plot, the plot verse, like nobody's business. The only person that can catch him is Doctor Who, because Doctor Who has the biggest plot holes I've ever seen in my life. But Barry's right behind that TARDIS. Yeah, the Harrison Wells part did have me, though, honestly, I need to know what's happening. I'm telling you, when I saw that green, though, I know somebody, a comment I just read up a little bit, it said that they thought it was Pariah, because Pariah wears green. I don't think it was Pariah. Mm-mm. But I was so hoping it was a Green Lantern. I was like, it would be so cool if Harrison was a Green Lantern, and nobody can tell me he can't be. Do you know how many Green Lanterns there are? So many. So I really, really, really would have been down for that, but I know it's not going to happen. My biggest issue with Barry is that he never learns his lesson. If he does, they never stick. I know he doesn't. And he's so quick to judge other people. He's like, well, you did this and you did that. He was so hard on Wally, and Wally could just be like, dude, every decision that you make episodically sucks. I'm like, we have to go and fix things because you keep messing it up. I don't understand. I just don't understand, but that's okay. Because we like the Flash, and without Barry, there wouldn't be a Flash unless, again, they had Wally West. But it's like, and in this show, they pretty much made it so Wally and Linda will never be a thing, even though I don't know a world where Linda's not his wife. But guys, don't make me start digressing here. Hal Harrison went out like Jennifer. Yeah, there was a lot of particle, accelerators and pretty much accelerators and all that stuff. They're always sharing a common theme. I think they were sharing devices like across the board. They're like, this is everybody's plot device this week. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was what blew up Lois's car. I wish Wally had gotten a spinoff. Me too. I'm so over speedster villains. The Thinker was the best, but Mirror Lady, come on. Can Katniss or Checkmate or Suicide Squad come in for this meta-human issue? I would love to see Suicide Squad in this, but it won't happen. Right. Why did Barry date Linda? Because it was weird. It was freaking weird. That's why it's freaking weird. I just can't get over it. I don't know what they were thinking. I think I told you about the writer's room. I told you what happens. The new Jennifer reveal was like, what the F? I know, but I mean, we knew China was leaving. I just really didn't think she was going to leave the role this early. I literally thought we would have got more time with her. Being that this was the last season of the series, I thought she would just stick it to the end, or if she was going to leave, it was going to be near the end. It was not going to be like this. So, but I mean, real talk, maybe this girl's going to go over to Painkiller's show. Maybe we'll have Thunder and Lightning over there. Maybe they needed to introduce a new Lightning because they're going to spin off over to Painkillers. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I think that would be awesome if, they were supporting characters in his show, which is so weird that a supporting character is now a lead in a series. And then two girls that were pretty much some of the main characters are going to be supporting characters if that goes down. Yeah. I guarantee you Tobias Wells going over to Painkiller because Painkiller has a grudge and a half against Tobias. So, and Tobias is literally the Black Lex Luthor. So I'm completely down with that. Khalil don't want her. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And then the Riverdale Archie getting hit with particles. I mean, let's be real. Pretty soon Charm's going to be in freaking DC universe and Arrowverse, and they all be running around saying, "Hey, what's this? Oh, it's a spell. No, it's not. This is a particle accelerator." Like, that's how we're gonna break your allergy. I'm like, yeah. If it starts happening like that, I might actually have to stop watching the CW. And I'm like, they really are running out of things to do. Yes, I love Tobias. Tobias is the VIP villain. Sexism, welcome to 2016. Maybe someday they will be VP. Yeah, I am, again, if you have not been here since the beginning of the stream, I am still very upset about Lynn. Because Lynn is everything you want. She is a woman of color. She is brilliant. She does not need help solving anything. No, she doesn't have powers, but she never really needed powers. She always came off as confident, self-assured, and loved her family. And in this season alone, they have made her the most unlikable person in the whole freaking Black Lightning universe. And it's irritating me. It is irritating me, as I pointed out earlier, that Lala was more supportive of Black Lightning than his own freaking wife. So I'm very angry that the one character, because they would have never done this crap to Felicity in Arrow. And you guys know I'm telling the truth. They would have never done it. She was wishy-washy sometimes as hell with Oliver, but she was always right. She was always, Felicity's the light of Oliver's life. And everybody loves Felicity. What? Felicity was a great hacker. She was intelligent, but she is not on Lynn's level. And they took somebody this intelligent and this, just basically badass and made her into a whiny, hypocritical addict who obviously semi-cares about her family and treats her husband like toxic shit. So I am angry at Lynn's character assassination. I am so angry about Lynn. It's making Black Lightning, I'm not saying not enjoyable, because there are aspects about Black Lightning. I really love the show. I love the premise. I care about the Pierce family. That's hard to do with some of these shows. You actually end up caring about these characters. And because I care about these characters, it pisses me off when there's writing done that takes one of the members of this family and makes them into a hateable bitch. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bought me a charm necklace that has a symbol on it, and that's the bomb. I feel like a charm one now. Yeah, we should talk about that in my charm review Sunday. Make sure you tell me that again, because that sounds cool. I'm all down for buying anything charmed. I'm moving up. Sorry, trying to scroll up a little bit. Okay, the Pierces make the Fantastic Four look like the Brady Bunch. You know that's saying a lot because they screwed up too. Yeah. 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 Aunt Viv Fresh Prince reference, laugh out loud, the recast. I mean, they had to do it. But again, I want to believe that the reason we're seeing this recast is because we're going to see these characters again. And since China has she said it, she's not coming back at all in any capacity. She's off to do what her heart tells her to do, and that is not being an actress for the CW or even in Hollywood or mainstream stuff. She wants to do her own stuff, and we're not going to hate on her for that. That's her choice. She's a beautiful young woman. She's going to do her own. She's going to live her life. But that means the show must go on, and so they have to have you can't have thunder without lightning. I mean, you can, but in this capacity, I like thunder and lightning together. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen next week, how they adapt to this new Jennifer look, how she's going to adapt to this new Jennifer look, because she's not going to look like anything in her pictures. So that's going to be interesting. Are these the same writers? Because it seems like the show demonstrated a powerful, tight-knit Black family, and now they seem like worse tropes a Karen would say. I know. I don't know. I really need to figure out if they changed the writing. It's really weird because it's gone. So I feel like on one point, like the Tobias Wells storyline, all the stuff that Gammy's doing, the whole thing about they're basically smacking down on metahumans, all of this stuff, like the Civil War type stuff that we see in Marvel Universe. That's cool. If you're going to go out on season 4, go out with a bang. But it's like the interpersonal part, like the family part that we love, the Pierces against the world, or as somebody said last week, or even Tobias even said, the chocolate covered Incredibles. I feel like they are destroying that family. Like, I don't feel like this would have been a thing in another show. Now, to be fair, we haven't seen the new season of Stargirl. They can mess that family up too, and they're white. So I don't know. But I don't know why you would take the last season of this series to make these people not seem like a family anymore. Like, they don't. And Nissa hasn't even told the rest of her family that she's married to Grace. Hadn't told them because she has her parents as a marriage, role example, and they're not good. They're toxic. So like everything about the Pierces now suck. And I know this is Tobias's plan. Tobias is trying to separate them and make Jefferson, feel like he lost everything before he inevitably takes him out or makes him take himself out or reveals to the world who they really are. I mean, he's playing a game of chess. He's already said this. But I mean, I don't think all of this is coming from the therapist. I think the therapist is no good. I think the therapist is the one with ALS, the one that Tobias is trying to get Lynn to work for him, that cure, because he kept saying my female friend. I think that's her. But some of this is them. Like this is definitely Lynn. This is definitely Jefferson. This is some unresolved crap in their lives that they didn't deal with. And so now all this toxicity is coming out, and this is the last season. And it's just, if they all just magically get together in the last episode, I'm gonna be pissed, because that is not how that works. Because this show has always been the more realistic superhero shows in the Arrowverse. So like now you're making it seem like I'm watching The Flash, and that makes me mad, because that's not what this show is. Just like, I'm gonna say this too: if The Flash could run this freaking, device to Black Lightning, why couldn't he come help out with the ASA? I'm like, let me get my water of truth. Where are you at, Barry? Now, some will argue with me and say, but his wife was in the Mirrorverse. I'm like, okay. But we don't know the timeline. We don't know if this was what's happening with Jen is right after Crisis. If it was pro Mirrorverse, if it's post Mirrorverse, is it pro him losing his speed? Post the artificial speed for we have no effing clue the time parallels between these two shows. But what we do know is Supergirl didn't show up, the Flash didn't show up, the Legends didn't show up. I guess a new Batwoman wouldn't show up. She probably would have, but she didn't know about him. Why, since they're all on the same effing Earth, they're on Prime Earth now, why don't they watch the news and say, oh, my friend Jefferson, yeah, he going through some stuff. His town's under attack. And, me, I'm a whole ass Kryptonian, and my cousin Kal-El is a whole ass Kryptonian. So maybe we should just drop down into the neighborhood and give him a hand. But instead, what they're doing is they're falling into the stereotype that superheroes don't go to the hood, because that's what's happened in comics for years. So, I mean, I know Batman went a few times. Spider-Man's flung through in Marvel Universe a few times, but I mean, they don't go in the hood. They'll be flying over the hood. They'll be like, oh, Kal-El, Superman, are you going to stop there? Oh, no. They're just a stepping stone between Smallville and Metropolis. I'm like, we don't land there. Like, we don't go down that road. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. I'm just throwing it out there. Because I understand COVID stopped a lot of crossovers, but Crisis sucked, and the results of Crisis suck. So I feel like this wasn't a way to make it up to fans for having such a crappy miniseries by actually having them help each other out on the same Earth. If you had no intention of doing that, then you should have split the Earths up. You could have had Black Lightning on Earth 2 with Stargirl or some other show where they could have been, because I think Stargirl is actually filming. I don't think they're filming in Canada, but I have to look it up. But like, they should have had them by where they are. But no, they don't think that way. Out of my jurisdiction. I think all of them do. Do they have like a map or like on the map, and they're like, hey, you going to Freeland? No, who's going to Freeland this week? Not me. Like, no, I think I'm gonna take Gotham. Like, that's kind of like a safe in between. I mean, it's supposed to be a rundown hood, but it's clean, and a lot of rich people live there. I'll go check Gotham out. I heard the Batman's not available. We'll just swing by. They need us more. But honestly, guys, it would be weird to have them running around Freeland, especially with Lala, because Lala has claimed Freeland for himself, and he's an idiot. So COVID stopped Superman from saving the hood from a covert government agency sequestering a whole city of black folks. I mean, that you make some valid points, because he has no problem saving the farm community during COVID. I don't see what the point of combing through the worlds was, because, hey, still feel like separate worlds. I know it doesn't feel like any of them are connected at all. The only times they even reference each other, if somebody gets a text message or an email. And somebody explained to me this. When did Cisco get on cool, like, speaking terms with Aquaman and anybody in Atlantis? Like, how they just up and say, hey, we're Atlanteans, take our tech with you to Central City? In what universe does somebody just march into Atlantis and take tech back to the human world? I'm just really curious about that. Yeah, never. So, yeah. And plus, Aquaman hasn't even been referenced in the Arrowverse. He has been referenced in Smallville, but not in the Arrowverse universe. So if you didn't have Aquaman helping you in Crisis, or any Atlanteans helping you in Crisis, why is it okay for you to just go traveling around and like hanging out with Atlanteans? I don't understand that. How did they even know about Atlanteans? I mean, that just tells me that a whole bunch of stuff happened in Justice League world that we know nothing about, which doesn't make any sense, because we have Martian Manhunter over in Supergirl, and the Flash, who is a leaguer, is in Central City. You have all of these people. When did they establish Atlantis? And why is Vibe or Cisco so welcome in Atlantis? And how come Cisco can go to Atlantis but can't go to the hood and help people out in Freeland? Like, you go all the way under the freaking ocean into a city underwater. Go to Freeland. I got questions, guys. Sometimes I feel like my Arrowverse Tuesdays are becoming a comedy show, but speaking truths. Yeah, right. You said what I just said. How's Atlantis getting more than love than Freeland? I don't see what the point of Coming the Worlds was, and they do something. He said it all happened off screen, right, Kevin? I don't think anything happened off screen. That's the problem. Nothing happened off screen. No, the only thing that happened off screen was Bebo. Like nothing happened. By the way, guys, I'm doing episode 2 of Crisis, my parody, Crisis on Infinite Earth. So I'll be posting that soon. I'm almost done with the artwork and I got all the voiceovers and stuff in. It's crazy. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. It's stupid. It does make it look bad that the white heroes can't help out black superheroes. Oh yeah, especially during BLM. They should have been on that. I'm like, look, on it. But I found something interesting, slightly off topic. So the new Kung Fu series, predominantly Asian cast, female lead, is getting hardly no recognition whatsoever. Like I did a review for the trailer the other day and I went and looked to see if anybody else was talking about it. And the only video I found is from this YouTube channel where they talk about people being too woke. They call people that are woke, Wokemon. I mean, very problematic, run by a white girl who, obviously I always take that stuff with a grain of salt because as a minority woman and ambiguous biracial, I know that I have privilege because I don't look completely black, even though I'm half black. So I accept that. But I know at the end of the day, I still look minority. I get mistaken for Hispanic. I get called racial slurs, but different racial slurs. So at the end of the day, when I turn this computer off and I turn this camera off, I'm in the real world. The people that sit behind these cameras and talk about progression being, bad and the JWs and all of the woke stuff, it's very interesting because these people that are saying it, when they turn their computers off and their cameras off, they can go outside, they can get in their cars and they don't have to worry about potentially dying or being taken away by ICE or any of that stuff. So it just really irritates me. And so I was looking at this trailer and I'm like, nobody is talking about this. And the one comment that I found was, well, David Carradine was the best Kung Fu, star ever in the series. It's my childhood and they're just destroying it. I'm like, so you're happy that they took a white man who has no Asian in him whatsoever and made him up with a version of blackface, Asian face, yellow face, whatever you want to call it, to pretend to be a Chinese man because the person that came up with the original concept, Bruce Lee, was told to Chinese to play a Chinese man. And you think that that is not a problem and that having a show reinvented for a different audience with an Asian cast means you're too woke and progressive. This is the world we live in, people. And it sucks. So I try not to preach on my channel, but I mean, sometimes it's just my brain is fathomed. So when we get on these subjects and we talk about how white heroes don't help black heroes, I mean, by you even making that statement, you've already become a Wokemon, according to this people, and you're too progressive because who wants to have progressive? Why would you want to be woke when you can take a nap? So yeah, it is privilege. So yeah, but you can't tell people it's privilege. People fear what they have to lose. And that is the problem. But I think times are changing. We got a lot of rude awakenings. Bye, Ito. Love you. Thank you you're always the first one in here. I think Kevin's usually number 2 or number 3 and then Nicholas, but you guys have been on point. And I got to give my props out to my third one in here. He's been really quiet lately, but Mercenary X84, you are not only you always in my streams, you are always in the comments. I mean, you are in it. I appreciate it. You give me lots to think about, and I mean a lot. So lots of love. I'm going to take a few more questions because we're getting to an hour and a half, which is pretty good for 3 shows, guys. I'm very impressed with this. Let's see. Like Ghost in the motherfucking Shell canceled. Yep. I'm not even talking about that. Now, I try to separate the universes, but my problem is when you have a series that you're trying to make brand new, don't have Japanese elements in it. If you're trying to do your own stuff to make everything American or British or French, whatever you're trying to do, that was my problem. If they had made a brand new Ghost in the Shell that was not Kusanagi or any of that stuff, it would have been all right. But when you try and take a Japanese property and you do that, no. It is what it is, guys. We can't stop the system. We can just scream and shout at them. Okay, trying to scroll up. Sorry. All right, couple of more. Therapy for heroes. I used to go to therapy. Yeah, there's this comic that I have with Satana, and she's like in therapy talking about her bio story, and everybody in there's like, because all the other people are like, they had a few villains and they had a few heroes, and they're like, what? Like, and the therapist is like literally talking to people about their problems while they're saving lives. And one woman is like, have you ever tried changing your diaper while you're trying to disarm a bomb? My kid was screaming, the clock was ticking. I was like, that's hilarious. I love that. I did find that issue. It's very funny. Death Note's canceled. Avatar's canceled. I'm hoping that Avatar's got hope because Nickelodeon's doing Avatar Studios now. So I'm extremely happy that we're going to get new content and maybe even get Kyoshi. That would be cool. Let's see. Okay. So Lois clearly has a better relationship with the kids, but it doesn't make sense. They act like Clark is gone for extended periods of time. I know. I mean, but she's gone more. It's like he even was like, it's just us tonight, boys. Your mother's working. And I'm like, but I will say this. I don't understand how this is going to work. And maybe I'm just maybe I'm being negative. I don't mean to be. So for Jordan to continue being on the football team, his dad is going to be the assistant coach. How is that going to work? Because if you're in the middle of a game and then you hear another bridge collapse, you got to fly off. What are you going to tell people? You're going to get fired. Look, him telling his son he couldn't be on the football team was actually less problematic than him being the assistant coach. That is extremely problematic. It makes you look flaky, and it makes you should never involve yourself in any activities where you have to be there full time, because the moment you take off, they're going to be like, well, where were you? So that to me was stupid. I hope Satana shows up on Superman. Since she already appeared on Smallville. I loved her on Smallville. That was actually really cool. I think that'd be cool. Live action Avatar worse than Dragon Ball live action. That is very true. At least Dragon Ball was amusing. I feel like Tyler Superman gets the brunt end of the stick. Yeah, they make him a lot weaker than the other, incarnations. But I will say that I do like that he has, like, the way he acts as Clark is so similar to old school Christopher Reeves if he was raising kids, with a little bit of Brandon Routh mixed together. He's like a hybrid of the two. I don't see any of the Henry Cavill, but I definitely see those two together. I think that I really do enjoy his portrayal as Clark. I'm not saying he's bad as Superman. I'm just saying that I really like that we're seeing the Clark. Like, I really thought this was going to be Clark and Lois instead of Superman and Lois, but I get it. Let's see. Well, at least Clark has a job now. I've been trying to figure out. We already discussed this last time, guys. I've been saying this is Charmed. I don't know how they pay the bills. They don't live in the real world like us because we get evicted. So I don't know what's happening. Let's see. It doesn't make sense. He barely has time to be a dad in Superman. Yep. He seems way stronger than Supergirl. He does. I'll give him that. He does. But in some instances, though, like I think in 2 instances, she's stronger than him. But I mean, Kara was always older than him. She just got stuck in the Phantom Zone, so she didn't age as fast. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But I don't know. I see Henry in those fight scenes. Kind of like the way they position him and how his suit looks. I do see that, but I definitely, as him as Clark, he's definitely more a Christopher Reeve hybrid with Brandon Routh a little bit. I don't see Tom Welling at all, like at all. Let's see. Trying to go. So Clark actually made more money than Lois. Probably not. I mean, she won all the awards. I don't think Clark is a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. I think that was just her. But she was always his senior. She was there longer. So I think she made more money. She quit. I still like how she walked in their last episode. And this is the best, this is the best writing I've ever done. And just like, I quit on blank paper. Yeah. Lois is a renowned journalist. She's a Pulitzer Prize winner. So she makes more money. But no, you're right though, Ray. In Elseworlds, right? When they go to the farm, we first meet them and they're in the Smallville farm, ironically, not the Man of Steel farm. And they're outside and she's like, yeah, I won 2 Pulitzers and yet I still make like 35 cents less than you or something like that. And she was calling it sexism. You're absolutely correct. I remember that. But in retrospect, she's still better. She's still a better reporter. But I mean, he was only being a reporter to be able to be Superman. So, and honestly, he doesn't really seem to miss it, which is interesting. Let's see. But there wasn't like reckon yet about women and equal pay. Yeah. Well, you know, whenever people say that, I told you you're coming back into that woke progressive talk. We can't do that. We can't do that. Don't want to be fair and have equality. No, this country is not built on that. Let's see. I think CW is trying to save money now. If you see those yellow particles on Charmed, I'm done. You might be done because I'd probably be on there on Sunday. Like, look, they probably only have one sound effects team, one creative lab studio. All right, I'm going to take one more because we are over our hour and a half. You guys have been awesome, though. Thank you so much for being in here with me because I know it's late. Bears like don't question plot. I read that one. Those Kryptonians tried to take over Earth. They weren't playing, and then Clark became alien Moses on Smallville for a while. Yeah, like the episode Pandora. I like that one. Yeah. Well, I mean, this girl could be a Zod minion. Laura could be like mad that Zod was killed. And maybe in this world, Superman's already killed Zod. I don't know if we've ever had a name drop of Zod, but we could have. I could have missed it like anywhere in this plot because it's not hard. But I really hope that Laura is her own thing. I really do. I really, really want Laura be like this. I think it'd be cool to have her from the same Earth as Captain Luthor. I think that would be badass. But we'll see. Because, I mean, we still got like a whole freaking episode next week to catch up on all the dysfunction that's happening really in all of these shows. Like next week, next Tuesday's episodes are going to be amazing. But heads up, I'm going to be late getting this. This is going to be a normal format, but I am in a showcase. So I am in an acting program and we're doing our we're live streaming on Facebook some of our scenes that we're doing, and it starts at 7. I don't think it ends until 9. So that means I'll probably either have to move it to Wednesday. I'll probably have to move it to Wednesday. So we might actually be doing Wednesday CW stream, which will give a lot of people more time to watch the shows. Because I know I literally am doing these right after Superman and Lois ends, like maybe 20, 30 minutes after. So it'll get more people to watch it. So you're not just learning what's happening from me and then going back and being like, what? But I do like doing these on Tuesday nights after shows because when Wednesday starts like going forward, I think in the next month, Motherland Fort Salem, if you're actually a fan of that, I believe is going to be airing on Wednesday night. So it'll conflict. So I can't do it on Wednesday. I'm busy, guys. I'm always planning what shows I'm reviewing. And Nancy Drews, I'm also behind, but that's by choice because I'm having a lot of issues dealing with this show. So I don't like reviewing what I'm having problems with. And so trying to motivate myself to continue with that series, but we'll see. But yeah, so just next Tuesday, just do it on your phone on your breaks. I mean, the problem with doing it on my breaks is that the shows won't air on Tuesday till Tuesday night. So if I do it at 1:00, that's me just if I did a stream, a Tuesday Arrowverse stream on my lunch break before it ends, I would absolutely love to know how close I am in plot. Like if I had theorized everything and my theories came true. What I'll do is when I get the link, I will post it on the before Tuesday so you guys can see it. It's going to be on our Playhouse on the Square. I think it's the Facebook streaming. And so they're streaming on Facebook. So I will definitely do that. I have a Joker monologue that I did, a female gender bent version. So basically I was the Joker's daughter. I did his Why Aren't You Laughing monologue. And then I'm actually doing a scene where I play Murray, a gender bent version of Murray from the Joker movie with another scene partner who's doing Joker in that scene. Basically, if you haven't seen the Joker movie, there's a scene where they're in a TV station and some stuff goes down between Murray and the Joker. kind of like the birth of the Joker, should I say. So really cool scene. That one will be live. So excited. And I think we are going last in my group. So, but I'll link you guys so you can see it because, you know, I love support. Love support. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Love you guys. It is now almost 1 hour and almost 1 hour and 40 minutes. We did this though. 3 shows, an hour and 40-minute live stream. What? We did it. So if you guys have any other theories or any other questions or comments, concerns, just want to talk about what happened, you know what to do. Leave a comment below because I love your theories. And quite frankly, some of the theories you guys have been coming up with stuff actually happened in the show. So I really would love to have those comments. Be on the lookout because I will be doing my live stream video on Sunday. Yes, because we got our charm coming back. So charm's definitely going to be Sunday. Monday, I should be able to do the Batwoman either video or live stream since it's coming back on Sunday. So we're going to get back in the groove, guys. But again, remember, Tuesday, this live stream will be moved to Wednesday night. So we'll be doing it on Wednesday because I will not be able to do it on Tuesday night. But going forward, Tuesday night will be our CW recap after show party. So, and I'm not lying because, you know, I got the water of truth. All right. Good night, guys. I love you. Have a good rest of your evening. And if it's morning for you, have a great day.